Good morning, Facebook family. It is Tuesday morning, 7:30. Who's awake? It's your girl, Neo Soul and R&B recording artist Lahla-Hadiya, back again for another segment of Morning Tea with Mommy. For all those who are new to the scene, this is where I get to speak candidly with my 70-year-old mother about all kinds of topics ranging from religion, relationships, parenting, and Politics. This morning segment, it should be interesting as all the others. As today we will be talking about roles between men and women. And so the question is, are there universal roles for men and women? Um, are there roles that are just universal that people identify with in the household between relationships. Um, and so I'm going to bring my mother on. I want you guys to be active participants in this segment because I am curious to hear what you think. Um, but I'm going to go ahead and bring her on so we can get started. Hey, you. Look at that beautiful queen. She's so cute.
Hi, everybody. Everybody. Hello, hello. Good morning. Got my coffee ready to go.
So I was talking about, well, I introduced the segment today. And so I think I want to start with you, Mom, because things may have changed. So I just want to get your views on um, what your idea of roles looks like. How you grew up, what you saw in the household with your mom and your dad.
Yeah.
And then as matriculated through life and you became an adult and married my dad, like how that looked for you as far as roles, or are there specific roles that are just universal? Hey, Jamila.
Good morning,
Oh,
Jamila.
we praying, babes, we praying.
Well, they start. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Um, as always, my foundation is from the Bible. What happened? Lost you there. Um, my foundation from the Bible, um, where the man is the head of the household. And when I grew up, that's what I knew was my dad was the rock in the home. And so as I grew older, matured into adulthood, my husband, of course, was that rock, and that was how we handled things. The Bible says that the man is the head of the household, such as Christ is head of the church. So, as my man, my husband, portrayed that role, um, that's how we handled things. Um, I took his lead as far as uh, those household decisions, um, and things worked. Things worked. When they didn't work, and there was some concerns on my part, that's where we came together and discussed those things. We even had situations where we would square off in terms of chairs. We put two chairs in the middle of the living room floor, facing each other, and we talk about those issues, those things that may have been of concern to either myself or to him. Um, when my husband passed, that was one of the things that I pointed out as I wrote a letter to him. Uh, I refer to my husband, my king, as my verbal sparring partner because that's what we did. We sparred, but we sparred in with respect and kindness towards each other.
So my question is, because it seems to be, and I grew up under this, that there's certain things that um, you just expect a man to do, um, that you wouldn't expect a woman to do, and things like opening the door,
We even
um,
had situations where we would square off
things
concerning
like
stairs.
can you turn your phone down, mommy? Things like opening the door, things like women women being the ones who cooked dinner, kept the house clean. Um, I know that, in this era, and even before, things have kind of shifted because now you have women working outside the house. Now, back in the day, women did not work outside the house. They were homemakers, what we call homemakers, where they stayed in the house, and they raised the children. And so in that regard, they were in a house. They were taking care of the tidiness of the house. The man went out and basically was the number one breadwinner. But now you have men and women outside of the house working. Um, and so this is an interesting topic for me because in my household, where you have both mom and dad out of the house working, um, who comes home to fix dinner? Um, who is responsible for making sure that the house stays neat? Um, like how do you deal with that? And then um, this one is for my millennials. When you're going out, who pulls out the card, to pay for the meal? Um, who's expected to be the number one disciplinarian? Lisa Henderson, she said, we got a comment. Lisa Henderson said, taking out the trash is a man's job, but we honored our God given roles until my husband passed. Okay. So things like that, like taking out the trash, so is it crossing the border for a woman if let's say I'm on my way out to work and it's a Friday and trash comes and I go to work before my husband, and so I'm leaving out the house before him, and so when the trash comes, they are they come early in the morning. So I know he can take the trash out at night, and actually that role is given to my boys, but he can take the trash out at night. But if I get up in the morning, I'm like, oh, they forgot a piece of trash. Do I not touch it? Is that something I'm like, oh, it's just gonna go, to the next trash run because that's just not my job. I don't touch trash. Are you so? Or let's say your husband goes on a business trip. Um, do you not touch the trash? Um, until he comes back, the trash stays piled up. Like, what do we do? Hey, Carmen Calhoun, this lady right here. Ooh, let me tell y'all, I'm gonna have to bring her on one segment and sing for y'all. She's amazing. Y'all go check her out. Follow her, Carmen Calhoun. That is the artist Jesus loves. Thank you.
Yes, that's my
Um,
baby. I love her.
so I want to hear. I want to hear from you guys. Like, what do you think? Type it. Type it in the comments. I want to hear what you guys think as far as roles. Like, are there certain are there specific roles that no matter what, that is a man's thing to do? No matter what, women should always be the ones to do this. Because and as you guys gather your thoughts, she said, "I love you too." Um, so let me just be transparent in my household. Um, so both of us work. Um, however, because of my natural naturing instinct, I'm typically the main one that's cooking dinner. The kids would probably argue the point that they like mommy's cooking better, but I'm typically the main one cooking dinner. There are times where, just for QT sake, quality time with my husband because of the hustle and bustle of life that we go into. I'll bring him into the kitchen and, give him a task. um, so that we're both cooking or whatever. But typically that's something that I do. Um, he typically, when there's things going on with the car. Now my dad trained me to be self sufficient. But he always said let a man be a man, which is why I have this topic here, because I knew how to change a tire. I knew how to change oil. I don't know, my cousin Gary on here, where I used to drive to the firehouse to change my oil. But I know how to change those things. However, when those things go wrong or those things need to be taken care of, my husband does that. Um, I I I Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me pause for a second. Lisa said trash wouldn't pile up, but he decided that because he was stronger. But when he passed, my son and I just took care of business. Okay, cool. I get it. It's more so of a, like, this is just, what I want to do because my queen shouldn't be touching the trash. But she's not so removed that if a situation happened, she can't pick up a bag and throw it in the trash. That's how I see that. You know what I'm saying? And in your case, with your husband transitioning to heaven, it's like, well, naturally, I'm going to step into that role because he's no longer in that role. And then I have sons, and then of course, when they move on out of the household, then you're left with having that task. But when there is a man and a woman in a house, I want to know what sort of things people feel are universal. Like, this is what a man does. I'm not going to do it. My daddy raised me to be a queen, the princess, the queen, whatever. And my husband's got, like, this is what he's supposed to do. And, this is what I do. This is what I take care of. And does that involve work or not to work? um, and if you are a working woman of your house, outside of the house, um, does that change the dynamics of what your roles are inside the house? I'm gonna ask my mom. I don't know. It's different for us.
I
We got kids.
think, as you said, um, in families, roles have been unwritten, stereotyped. They've been stereotyped. However, things change, people change. Um, the important thing in my household was to have cohesiveness as far as roles are concerned. Um, that's something that you establish per family. And one of the reasons it's so important for families to communicate with each other, that is to establish, and that is the reason to establish certain unwritten rules. Um, and when those unwritten rules are in place, then you stay in your lane.
Mm-hmm.
Um, one of the reasons so many men and women tend to run into confusion is because, you say that, I'm to do this, but then, as I think you pointed out, they're going to always be those outlier situations.
Mm-hmm.
But when I say I'm doing this, then I do this. When you say you're doing this, you do that. However, um, rules are not written in stone. So there may be times where you may either have to do something outside of your lane or you're asked to do something. And I think as a family, that's what makes a family, a connecting family, is when you can pair and share. La mentioned, which is a very good thing, and we used to do this where even if she's the cook, she's cooking, and her husband, she may want to bring him in to just give her that added inspiration, and encouragement. Just looking in his eyes
They're
every
a
now and
pot.
then
How about
about
that?
burning the food. Um, so it makes the family more together when you can do things together.
We have a comment from Angelique. Hey, cuz she says, I'm not touching trash under any circumstances, and neither am I pumping gas. I was going to get to that. I can do it, but I'm not. I'm just not. When I was not married, my dad came, or some worldly man came. Wow, like wow, like meet me at the
Right,
gas station.
right.
Will I let it pile up? No. If I have to touch it, I'm not happy. Mardisha, what's that, Mardisha? She says none. It does not matter. Doing it together with your better half makes more fun and love for
It does.
one another. Remember the Adam's Rib woman. Until y'all gotta check out my song Lahla-Hadiya, My Thoughts, volume 1 and 2. Woman, check that out. Until God separates us, I will still do it from the heart. Love you guys, keeping it real, my queens. So that's where I'm at with it. Because I see your wheels turning, mine, but that's where I'm at with it. Like for me, I know that there are roles that I wasn't necessarily taught. It was just an unspoken thing because I saw it growing up. But in my household, like when my husband, first of all, my husband, this Puerto Rican, let me tell you, he took apart my whole entire engine and rebuilt it. Like the dude is amazing, right? And so he's never touched a car in his life, and I'm still alive. My truck is still running. It's been months. But even when he went out there to do that, um, I came out there, made sure, he had something to drink. But then I put the gloves on and was like, babe, what you want me to do? When it was getting late and he's out there to the wee hours of the night, um, I'm gloved and suited up like, yo, what you want me to hold? And I'm out there holding up the engine while he's putting the bolt in. And, so it, like for me, even though I know that my husband is supposed to be the stronger vessel, and I'm from him, like I'm, in the Bible it talks about us being the weaker vessel, between the man or whatever, and so he's supposed to protect me. However, I don't feel like, I think it's to each his own, like, what you're comfortable with. And that's why it's so important to know what you can tolerate, what you want out of a relationship, and that person know what they're willing to tolerate and what they want out of a relationship, because what works for my household may not work for yours. You know what I mean? Like for me, I may say, look, yo, my son is out there struggling. They dragging the trash, and while I'm rolling my eyes, I'm like, look, y'all gotta put the bag up. You know what I'm saying? Put some elbow grease into it. But I'm still helping him out because my husband has left because he had an early meeting. So I'm out there, in the thick of it, helping my sons drag the trash to the trash can, and I don't feel like, ill, this is beneath me. You know what I'm saying? Even though I grew up in a household where my dad did that, and then when my brothers became of age, they were out there taking the trash. He never once sent us, the girls, out there to take the trash. Even down to like cooking. I remember, now my dad cooked too. This is the weird thing. My dad cooked too, but every time he would go in the kitchen, he would bring my little sister and I, he would bring us in the kitchen to watch him cook. Like I never remember him asking my brothers to come in the kitchen, right? It was always me and my sister. But he cooked. My mother cooked as well, but it was when he got in the kitchen, he would always, tell us, like that was the rule. We had to come in there. And so early on, I, grew up thinking like a woman's supposed to be the one that cooks. But me being the rebel that I am, as I began to get older and I knew what I wanted for me, I wanted it to be like a team thing. I wanted it to be like where it's not all on my shoulders to have to cook the meal or have to set the table. I wanted my sons to know how you set a table. What happens when you're single and you don't have that significant other yet? Do you not just, and how would you know if they're doing it correctly if you don't even know how to do it? Like, so my both my boys cook, and they cook like from scratch. You know what I'm saying? I've at different times brought my sons in, and different times I brought my daughters in, and so um, whereas they see mom cooking most of the time, they know how to do it, so that when they are in their own relationships, that's a choice that they and their significant other make. Like, so how are we going to run this house? I don't think that there's a specific outline that everybody should adopt when it comes to roles. I don't think that, like, so this is how we do it. My husband always drives. That's another thing. Like, I know how to drive, I know how to drive. I don't always want to be the one in the passenger side because he scares me. He's from Brooklyn, and sometimes I just want to drive. So, things like that. Like, what works for your household and your relationship is what works for your relationship. I don't think it should be judged because it doesn't fit in a box, if that makes sense. Let me see. Carmen said teamwork makes the dream. I'm telling you the truth. Mardisha said,
Yes, and yes, Carmen.
right. You
And
see that, and I want to say something about Carmen real quick, because Carmen is a truck driver. So when you talk about strength, like, she could probably pick me up and body slam me a couple of times. Like, she cock diesel, but she is all woman. So in a case like that, like, where she's very capable of picking up the trash, probably with a finger and taking it out. You know what I'm saying? But she's still a woman. Um,
I think Law hit on it several points that roles are un they should never be written in stone because situations, circumstances happen that will warrant switching up. I was fortunate to have had a man, a husband, a king who did everything. He washed his own clothes. He cooked.
he did my
He
hair. My dad was the first one that did a perm in my hair.
you know so and as far as driving, we took anniversary trips every anniversary, near and far. And one thing he always insisted on was doing the driving. He wanted me to have the pleasure of just watching the scenery and so forth, and I wasn't mad. I enjoyed it. So I think the bottom line here is to be flexible, um, but knowing when to stay in your lane, knowing when to get out of your lane.
So, driving, because I've driven past many coupled cars where you may see. I'm sorry, Medisha, but yo, y'all New Yorkers, y'all drive like y'all the only ones on the road. I'm sorry. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. I promise I do. But y'all, yeah, y'all got some metal feet. Um, but I've driven past many coupled cars where the woman is driving or the female is driving and the male is on the passenger side, lean back. And um, I've even heard some of my elders, like if I stop at a gas station, and even if the guy gets out of the passenger side to pump the gas, I've heard little snide comments because the woman is driving. And there are times, like, my husband's a musician, and so even when after he's worked his 9 to 5, he still plays for some of everybody. Like, and so there are times when he has to drive to a conference or drive to a different state where he's playing, and he'll be like, babe, can you go with me? And I'm going for support, but I'm also going for support, like, because he's gotten off of work to get straight on the road and drive hours away. And so, for the sake of my husband's life, I'm not so removed where I'm like, oh, I'm not driving. Like, I want to survive, first of all, and I want him to come back. so he can take out the trash. So I'm like, yo, if that means that I'm gonna get in the driver's seat and drive 2.5 hours and let my husband get in the passenger side and sleep, so be it. And if I stop at a gas station and anybody happens to look at me funny because my husband is in the passenger side, we gonna have problems and repercussions because that works for us. You know what I'm saying? And that doesn't mean that he's mooching off of her or whatever. And I think, perception is everything. Like, people see those things and they think, oh, he's a moocher, or he's not being a man. Like, a man is like, he got her driving. Like, you don't know the situation. And that's why I feel like, certain things are just, it can't really be universal. It depends on that household, that relationship, and what works for that household and that relationship. And because we as outsiders don't know, like, he could have just drove 8 hours, and she wanted to go to dinner, and he wanted to honor that because he hadn't seen his wife or his woman, and he was like, yeah, I'll go. And she's like, I'll drive because I know you're tired and you're doing this for me. But we'll drive past and be like, like, why he got her driving, and then people are just better at doing certain things. Like, the roles in my household are what they are because we know what we're gifted at. Cooking is not my husband's ministry. But he can cook, but cooking is not his ministry. Like, clearly, I'm hands down the chef in the house. And it's okay because he sits at the table and he eats, and there are no complaints about the fact that he wants to feel manly and cook. And if he does, he's welcome to come in the kitchen. But it just works for us. Working on cars is not my ministry. Like, I can hold a bolt, I can hold it down, I can screw this in for you, I can unscrew this, I can lift this, lift that. But that's not what I'm good at. That's not my sweet spot. So all day, that's him. I don't know, doing hair, like twisting hair. We have locks. Like, I'm trying to get my husband to learn how to do locks because I'm tired of retwisting his hair like every two minutes. He's spoiled. So, like, things like that. Like, let's learn together. Like, it doesn't have to be a mommy thing. Like, we can all know how to do hair. Um, but there's certain things that what should say. Carmen said the neck supports the head. Exactly. Um, yeah, man. My dad used to perm my hair. Um, Now, mind you, the woman can be the head, so it's vice versa. Chef girl, yeah, I'm a chef. But so that's the thing too. In Let me ask you this, Mom. In a house where you start out single and you don't have a man um to do it, you may have male friends, um, but you don't have a significant other. Is that crossing the line? Is that borderline using if you call a male to say, "Hey, can you come pump my gas? I'm like about to stop at the gas station. Can you come pump my gas?" Or, um, "I need, like, my tire is flat. Can you come change my tire?" Um, and you're not in a relationship with that person. You just know male people. Like, you have male friends. Is that borderline using, or is that a universal role of a man? Like, that's just what men do, and they should be okay with it if their platonic female friend contacts them and says, "Hey, I'm stuck on the side of the road. I need my tire changed," rather than call
There,
AAA.
there are stereotypical roles, and there are roles that are so designated by communication in households, and roles designated by communication in your specific household is what I um, I champion, because things change, people,
You go.
situations change, There may, one partner may be ill and cannot fulfill that role. Things happen. The other thing is, then what comes into play is you have children and you want to train up these children and the way they're
Oh
to
yeah, my son's
go.
pump gas
That
all
is
day.
with roles, with jobs. Keep in mind, mothers, that uh, pampered sons become pampered husbands. And, in that regard. The other thing is, and I see by the time we, just not enough hours, not enough minutes for us to really get into everything. But um, I think what makes a family, a household come together is when you can communicate. And as I said, no rules are in stone, should be in stone, but it's you coming together with your mate. If you're single, and you have kids, then you train your children so that it's a partnership when it comes to roles and communication and understanding when it comes to various roles in the household. So, this has really been grand as always. I enjoyed, and I want to continue to hear from you guys.
Yes, man. We might have
Feel
to do a
free.
part two to this one too. Dang.
Yes,
See, so this
yes,
works for us right now, 7:30, and we try to keep it to 30 minutes only because we want to honor our pastor and be on his live as well
yes,
when the 8 o'clock hour comes. So we might have to think about how we can shift this now that
yes,
everybody's working from home with the kiddies and everything. But you already know
yes.
my household is strapped down on schedule. But we might have to consider moving this so that we can get an hour segment because I really do want to hear more about what you guys think. So we might have to do a part two to this for tomorrow
Absolutely. Yes.
because it's interesting
It's great.
because
It's been grand.
they're like so I'm gonna end with this for my comment. I'm a queen. I'm a queen, and I'm my husband's first gift. I'm the gift that God gave to man as woman, and so with that in mind, that is how that is my expectation for how my husband creates what his roles are for our relationship, for our household, because I'm his queen. So because I'm his queen and I'm his gift, um, and when I think of gift, I think something special. Like I wouldn't want my special thing to do certain things because I want to keep you special. And so he does take out the trash. My boys do take out the trash. My boys, my husband do open up doors for us because we're special. I'm a queen. My baby girls, they're princesses, and we're royalty. And so even in that regard, um, he's my king in my household. So he does get a plate made. I don't cook the food and be like, yeah, your food on the stove. I do bring my husband his plate. So it's, when you are selfless on both ends, then it's a win-win for everybody. Because whereas it may look like he caters to me, he does and I look like I cater to him, I do. And when we both are catering to each other, it's a win-win, and everybody wins in a situation, even the kiddies, because they see love. So, in my household, I am the queen, and there's certain things that my husband's gonna make sure I don't have to do. And in my household, my husband is the king, and there are certain things I'm gonna make sure my husband don't have to do. And the outpour of that is love. That's what my kids see. And so, are there universal roles? I don't think they're universal. It's whatever works with your relationship and your household. As long as you do it in a purity of heart, and it works for you. It works for you. If it don't work for nobody else, let them step on. That's your girl. This your girl. R&B neo soul Lahla-Hadiya. That's my mama, 70-year-old, gorgeous, beautiful, wise woman, Mama Lou, as they call her. And this has been another segment of Morning Tea with Mommy. We're going to do a part two to this. So all those who didn't get their comments in, get your comments together. You can type them in this segment, and I will remember them, commit them to memory, and then tomorrow when we get on bright and early, 7:30 in the morning, then we'll go ahead and tackle those comments and those questions and concerns. But until next time, I love you. My mama love you. God loves you. Peace out. Good morning, Facebookers. How are you? It's your girl, Neo Soul recording artist Lahla-Hadiya, and I am back again for another segment of Morning Tea with Mommy. For all those who are new to this Facebook Live, this is where I get to talk candidly with my 70-year-old mother um, about different topics. Ranging from relationships, religion, to parenting and politics. So I get to invite you into my world. And so I'm hoping that you guys will actively participate. Today's topic is a continuation of what we were speaking of yesterday. It seems like we don't have enough minutes in our day to talk about things. But yesterday we were talking about um, roles for men and women. And the question was, are there universal roles for men and women? We had a lot of good comments yesterday. I'm going to go ahead and bring my mother on so we can get started. There she is. Morning, mommy. I don't have a mug today. I had to move my location. I had to move my location because my husband is working some things out in our kitchen, fixing our pipeline from our fridge to the sink, getting the ice maker going again. So that seems like a good way to segue into this whole roles. Yesterday we were focused on just normal things that are done around the house. And there were a lot of good comments. A lot of people were commenting on it. A lot of females. I'd like to hear from the fellas today because a lot of females would think talking about things like pulling the trash. You had a certain number saying that they don't touch trash, that is not their thing. And then you had some saying that, they would pull the trash if necessary. And then just doing things together, making it fun and not necessarily a particular role like you're supposed to do this. One of the things I ended on was I think that it is signature to your relationship, your situation. I don't think that everything should be the same or necessarily the same. Like what works for my household may not work for your household. So I want to know what you guys think. I'm going to let my mom chime in. I don't know if she's doing. She get her coffee together. I don't know. She over there looking cute. So I'm gonna let her start out while we get a couple of comments going in the box about this whole role situation. So, do you think that is the question that there are universal roles for men and women? Are there specific roles that are specifically tailored to men and specifically tailored to a woman? I want to hear from you while my mother starts talking.
First off, just kind of recapping from yesterday, um, rules for roles slash rules for men and women. I take from the Bible. Um, God created man, and out of his from his rib, he created woman. Um, woman was created to be uh, man's helpmeet, and it's interesting that word helpmeet because the first thing I think of is helping man to meet the goals that God set out for him. Um, um, Also, when we think of rules or roles, rules are universal um, as a result of man reshaping rules to meet man being man and woman, reshaping rules to meet to accommodate their circumstances. However, in every household, the thing with man and woman, when they come together, they should be in harmony with one another, particularly when they are preparing to raise a family or are raising a family. Um, it makes for a successful relationship, marriage, when both parents are working together in terms of their roles and their rules. Because from there, you model for your children what their roles will be, whether they're male or female. As for me in my house, the rules or roles are we come together. We came together as far as roles. Some roles are just unsaid, unwritten, and of course unwritten, and they're not written in stone. They're unwritten, and or they're written not written in stone. Excuse me. So it's really important for man and woman, a couple in a relationship, to come together to solidify those roles, but also remembering that we have to be flexible because circumstances may come up, and they always do, where it may flip flop. It may be possible that the wife may do things that the husband is used to doing, depending on what the circumstances are, sickness, job related situations. So we have to be flexible in any relationship. Although, as I said, rules are universally stereotyped in that we get used to certain the man because he's for the most part strong, you know, invincible, um, can do anything that requires heavy lifting and so on and so on. However, as the generations uh, continue to happen and things change, and it doesn't make a bad person or a good person because I'm doing the man's doing dishes and the woman is changing a tire. It doesn't make a bad person, doesn't make a bad relationship. What it does make for is flexibility, understanding, uh, treating each partner with respect. And as your children come into the picture, children will see this by example. They will see it by example by what their parents are doing to make for a happy home.
So
I'll let that marinate for a minute.
that's what. So yesterday when we were talking about it, one of the things that I was thinking about was I made a comment about kings and queens. So a man looks at his woman as his queen, and when you think of your queen, you want to protect her. Morning, Shalonda. Hey, girl. You want to protect your queen. You want to do things to make her feel protected. You want to do things to make her feel appreciated. You want to do things to make her feel loved and valued, right? And so the question I guess that lingers is, what does that look like in a man's eyes? Like, and I would love to hear a man's point of view. Like, what does that look like from a man's standpoint? And then the flip side of it is, a queen. When you think of your king, you want your king to feel valued. You want him to feel appreciated, and you want to make sure that he's uplifted so that he continues to be that protector, that provider, so to speak, for you. And so what does that look like from a woman's standpoint? Does that look like making sure that there's food on the table always for him? Does that look like making sure that you're massaging his back or whatever when he comes home from work? What does that look like for a woman? And so when you think of the different eras, like back then, a majority of women stayed home. So the roles in that regard that were unspoken but kind of became the rule, um, was that the woman was to take care of the house. So they made sure that the house was clean. They made sure that the children were bathed and fed, and they made sure that their homework was done, or if they were homeschooling, making sure that they were learning what they needed. Made sure that food was on the table. Made sure that the kids went to sleep. and tuck them in or whatever, and all of those things because they worked inside the house. And um, on the other side of that, men were the ones who worked outside of the house. They were the ones who worked in the field, the ones who went to, the jobs that were outside of the house, basically making money for the household to be able to provide the things that the woman actually went and did. Like she went shopping and got the groceries and, made the food and everything. But when you look at the world as it is today, um, you don't see that too much anymore because now you have working women outside of the house. They don't no longer just work inside the house. So they're not homemakers, where they are. However, they also work outside the house. So now it becomes like this equal playing field, so to speak, from the mindset of a lot of women and even a lot of men. Um, and so you have a woman feeling like, well, I shouldn't have to come home and do the dishes anymore because we both just came home from work, so who's going to do the dishes? I shouldn't have to fix dinner anymore um, because I also leave out of the house. So who going, we're going to have a schedule now. So like the mindset of people now are different. And I would say um, because of that transition, our millennials don't really or have not really seen um, a distinct, and I hope I have a millennial on here to correct me if I'm wrong. They haven't really seen a distinct role because they remember their mom uh, taking the trash out on the way to work, or there may be single parent homes where it's like, I just stayed with my mom and that's all. My mom knew how to change a tire. My mom knew how to change oil. My mother took the trash out and she went to work, came home and, and then the different jobs that women have now that kind of cross that barrier of, um, men specific, women specific. Like, we're taking jobs now that men do. Um, Yesterday we had a truck driver on here that was a female, and she's 100% woman, but she's also cockneys doing the truck driver. So her thought process um, may be different when it comes to what I'm capable of doing versus a woman who does something that doesn't get her hands dirty. So it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna stick with just washing the dishes and cooking the meals and everything. I'm not touching no trash. Um,
I think what we're going to see, I think what we're going to see as we come out of this pandemic, we're going to see a whole lot of roles uh, changing. Um, People are going to be playing catch up. Some women who were not working will be working, and vice versa. Some people may be not working for a while due to the economy and job openings and so forth and so on. Um, I think, um, and it's in keeping with what I said earlier in regards to those these stereotypic rules, and that's what they are because we have taken the man, the woman, as such as God created, and we are revamping those roles, which is okay, as long as the important thing in the household is to maintain communication, to maintain, make certain that mom and dad or the partners are on the same
yeah,
wavelength, and that's so important, particularly when, and it's going to be even more important when there are children involved, because children do what they see and not what they're told. Very often, we're not. And the other part that's shifting is, after we come out of this pandemic, is you're going to have children um, experiencing various emotional as well as adults. But I'm particularly concerned as we have it with children because they don't have the maturity of the mindset to understand, really understand what has taken place here in our world, in our world. And I watched the video on last evening of this young man who was expressing his discontent with the school situation now. Um, you can tell in the background his mom was I won't say poking the mom, but she was like very disgruntled. You can tell by her inserts and comments. But the young man was very, you could tell, very sincere. He was saying, I am really feeling pressured. And when a young person says, I'm feeling pressured, it's a flag up. So and bringing that up, and I'm hoping at some point we maybe can share some clips of that. But um, in times like these, where we're experiencing something we've never, most of us have never experienced before. I, being a baby boomer, have gone through sometimes, born right after the war. And of course, we went through the economic and stock market changes and all of that. Um, Food was scarce, everything was scarce, jobs were scarce. So, it's not new. And this pandemic it's not new historically. We've been through, this country has been through, has experienced the pandemic before. And I had to respond to a young man, one of my he's a solo artist, and he has this thing with the present administration. He has found favor with the present administration. And so I brought that up because most of us are mature enough to understand that the present administration is not with us in terms of our stability. And so it's going to be so important for us to maintain the continuity in communication in our household.
Yeah.
Um, your mate may wake up one morning, the mate who's accustomed to taking out the trash or going out to work may wake up with a sore throat, a cold, weak, or whatever. And I think many people have experienced this,
Yeah.
those, God forbid, who have come down with the virus and even other illnesses. So we have, what I'm saying in essence, in summary, we have to be prepared to be flexible in terms of roles. We have to have an understanding, yes, but know that things change. And it doesn't take from your femininity to, within reason, lift a heavy bag, laundry, or lift a heavy trash receptacle. Doesn't take from your masculinity to pick
Right.
up a dishwasher and wash dishes or to fix dinner. I think there should be some understanding there as far as roles are concerned, that they are not written in stone and that they are subject to change based on your personal in-house situation.
And understanding what a help meet really is, you know what I mean? I think, like you said, I think we as men created what we, deem to be role signatures for men and women, and instead of understanding, the scripture when it says help me, like, and that could mean different things. It could be different dynamics based on, like you were saying, your household. And us being in this, like, I've heard a lot of preachers, pastors, and even just philosophical people talk about this whole, world reset, and which is amazing and interesting to me, because I think everybody now should, if they haven't developed it already, have a newfound respect for what it takes to run a household, because everybody's in the household now. There are not too many people that are working outside of the home during this situation, and those that are on the front line that are working outside of the home, you still have the people that are now in the home, learning, and and developing this newfound respect for what it takes to run the household, because now they're left to do certain things that that person would probably normally do if they were there, but now they're, you know, they're called elsewhere because they're needed. They're on the front line. My sis Media is on here, and you know, and she's a mother, she's a woman, and she's a wife, and so you know, working in the medical
My role.
is strenuous in itself, you know, and so it takes you out of the house for long periods of time. But I can certainly imagine, and if she's still on here, chime in that you know, you being in this frontline role, it has you out of the house even more so than not, you know. And so having a husband that may or may not still be working outside of the home during this situation, and even if they are, I'm pretty sure their hours aren't as strenuous as yours are, as far as you know, them being out of the house for long periods of time because of this situation. And so they begin to see the things that they don't normally have to deal with because you're there, what it is that you deal with when you come home. And so you know, like your household, I'm pretty sure others, there are people who are now like, wow, like so this is what we do, you know. And so the respect level, the hopes and the prayer is that the respect level does a shift, for all parties involved, not just men and women, or husband and wife, or you know, partners or whatever, but the children
Right.
as well, because everybody now is in the mix and everybody sees what it takes to keep this thing running. And then you see the glitches, you see what's missing, you see what needs to be interjected, what needs to be put back in, what needs to be taken out, to make it run effectively. And so that's where you get the whole mindset of like the whole world reset. It's like, you know, now we have a chance to do over. We get a do over, you know, and from scratch. Like you get a do over, literally. And what you gonna do with it, you know? So that when you do come out of this, because my, you know, my prayer and my faith is that we will pass through this situation. um,
Yeah.
do we go
Yeah.
to business as usual, or do we now have some type of significant change in mindset as
It doesn't have to be changed. Definitely.
yeah,
And I mentioned um, the educational system has changed. Think about it. Job situations have changed with uh, either parent or both working in outside of their home, from their home, children studying from their home. It's definitely going to bring about change as far as the roles are concerned. Education is everybody's business. Educating our children is everybody's business. And it's, you know, it's interesting because this entire thing, the pandemic, will bring about, when we come out of it, and we will bring about changes, a lot of good changes. I've seen the changes already, you know, as we speak, with parents having to educate. Parents are beginning to develop a greater respect for teachers, educators,
Lord Jesus.
for healthcare practitioners, for even the garbage man. We're beginning to see the importance of each role, and certainly in the household, the husbands are seeing and beginning to have a greater respect for wives, whether they are homemakers, which are far and in between nowadays, but for the wife who works outside of the home. Um, there are no big eyes and little U's. Everybody's role is important now and will become even more important as we progress through this.
Down to
And the
the
next,
children. Like yeah.
absolutely. And also, let's not forget the children, because in the past, prior to this pandemic, children were going and coming, you know, school. For the most part, parents are working. Everybody's like a surveyor belt, you know, moving back and forth. And the children, you know,
She done froze on me. Look, her spirit done got hype. She done froze. We're gonna wait for her to, there you go.
last evening. It
Repeat,
really touched my
repeat that
heart.
last statement because you froze. Repeat that last statement because you froze on us.
Oh, okay. I don't know which, but my point is, children are experiencing many different emotions right about now.
Yeah,
Some understand what's going on, others do not. They some are feeling pressured with. Once upon a time, I was in a class, and this young man last evening said, even when I was in class, I had issues understanding some things. So now I'm not in the class where I can uh, actively engage with the teacher and ask questions or, kind of pair with peers. He was really feeling pressured. So you talk about changing roles or shifting in roles or cooperating as far as our roles are concerned. We are our brother's keeper, and brothers as in sisters as well. So we have to. And that's what I think, if nothing else, will come out of this entire thing. I'm praying for that anyway, that we will understand better. The old song says, we'll understand it by and by. We're going to understand it sooner than we
she about
think.
to sing, y'all. Y'all gotta hear mommy sing. Y'all think I'm a singer. That's where I get it from. I get it
So
from my mama.
we
That's
really have
King
to
on
start.
here. He says he agrees that I'm well equipped. I guess he's talking about me. I'm well equipped to pick up where he's lacking, and him the same for me, which is true. Like um just seeing what we do that go under the radar. You know what I'm saying? Just the little minute things that happen that I don't always see that he does or see the process of it. He may say, babe, I took care of this for you, but I don't see the process of it. By both of us working out of the household now, we get to see the process, and that process is what has developed the respect for
A
each other,
greater appreciation.
and I
Yes.
would say not the role for um husband and wife, but the role for partnership. Like this is the part that he plays in our partnership. This is the part that I play in the partnership. And so now, because we get to see the process, the respect level has grown because it's like, yo, wow, that's what it's like. So, for instance, I told you guys, I moved my location this morning because um, he was working on our ice maker for our fridge. And so he was telling me, babe, I'm gonna go ahead and fix it for you. Good morning, Carmen. He was going to fix it for me. And usually I'm used to just, coming back home and, it's just done. But because we're all here, I go in the kitchen and I'm like, yo, the whole sink is taken apart. And so I get to see piece by piece, process by process, step by step, what he has to endure to get the sink working or get the ice maker working. And so now my respect level has heightened because I'm like, yo, it ain't just an easy fix. Same thing with dealing with the children. So my husband's a musician. It's no secret. Everybody knows I'm a recording artist. He's a musician. But him being a musician, his workload is heavier than mine because he plays for some of everybody in a DMV and beyond. So at any given time he's in a studio when he comes home from work, or he's out at a rehearsal, he's out at a gig, so he doesn't get to see what happens when I pick up the slack in the house and deal with the children. But now that we're all in the house, he's like, yo, this is a lot. Like, we got a lot of kids. It's been so many, you know come to Jesus moments where he's like, yo, we got a lot of kids, because now he sees the step-by-step process of what it takes to maintain the household when he's out of the household. And so the respect level has heightened because it's like, in our household, we both work. So it's like, like, dang, like, you got to deal with that too. So now, I was surmising in my prayer, and I'm hopeful that even once we pass through this season, um, when we go back to um, business as usual, our mindsets will be changed and reset so that now I'm coming home and I'm like, babe, I put something in the microwave. Now it's like an aggressive movement of appreciation, and not just thanks, babe. I appreciate you. Now it's a active appreciation because I know what it feels like. Like I see it. I've endured it with you. Like I've had to flip and do this because I see you doing this, so now I jump in. And that's what I'm hopeful for a lot of relationships and households, because now you get to see what it looks like to be the other person. And so for me, that question of is there a universal role, um, I would have to say, as we bring this to a close, and in my closing statement, I would have to say that there aren't necessarily universal roles for men and women. However, in any given situation, um, there are roles in partnership, and whatever that looks like, it's not necessarily a man female or a male female thing. It's a partner thing. So if you do this, I'm picking up the slack here. I do this, you picking up the slack here. And so in that regard, there is a there is an expectation for partnership when it comes to roles. Um, in a relationship, in a household, and that even it branches out to even all parties involved. So not just the head of the household, the queen of the house, the king of the house, but the children as well, because they have a role too. And with everybody playing their role in that household, in that situation, in that relationship, it should make for a better partnership, and the job gets done and the goal is reached. That's my thoughts. I'm sticking to it. I'm gonna read this
I
real quick.
agree.
I'm
I
gonna,
agree with that, and it appears that I'd like to thank our listening and viewing audience. We had some nice comments, and we really appreciate your sharing and interacting. Carmen jumped in and says, "I agree. There has to be cooperation. There has to be respect. There has to be everybody." And again, as a retired educator, but always an educator, education is everybody's business.
mhm.
And children do what they see us do. You can say, you can talk and talk and talk and talk, but they watch us. They're like sponges from birth on up. And we have to be mindful and respectful of our children as well, because they're watching us every moment. And as we are interacting with each other, show the love, show the respect. Let them see the love. Let them see the respect. Let them hear us voicing and showing our appreciation for each other. It really goes a long way. It goes a long way. So with that, I appreciate hearing everyone's comments or reading everyone's comments, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys with us again tomorrow. Um,
My truth,
Thank you,
guys.
Mimi. Thank you
I
for all
drove
that you
past
do.
my truth. I drove past my mama house yesterday with the kids, and she made me cry on the way back home. I cried. I see my mama. It's a blessing. I see her every morning on this live thing. But if you have your loved one, whoever that may be, with you in the physical, appreciate it, because there are people who no longer have their parents. I had a good girlfriend of mine send me a message and was like, just seeing your mom like reminds me of the talks I used to have with my mother, and like I miss my mom. And I also thank God for the blessing of her being here. So I just want to publicly say I love you, mommy. And
I
I
love
do this. It does not replace people who no longer have their mom, but I do this because when God blesses me, I always feel like He blesses me so much that I can't help but bless other people with the spillage. And if I could share the gift that God gives me, I'm gonna do it. And this is my gift. That's my angel in earth, And so she has so much wisdom, so much wisdom. She's amazing. And I don't want to just keep that to myself. I need some other smart people out here too, because I hate running into people who ignorant. So I put her on here with morning tea with mommy every morning so y'all can get some of that good knowledge. So again, this girl,
Well, I miss my spiritual babies, my spiritual daughters
but
from
that don't mean
church,
y'all can take her from me, Media and Carmen. So
and Carmen, my singing angel,
yeah, she's
and
amazing.
who else
Check
did I
Carmen
see on
Calhoun out.
there?
She's dope, guys.
My cousin Angelique. Oh, I love you guys. I love you, love you, love you with the love of the Lord. And I want you guys to keep hope alive, keep doing what you're doing because it is making a difference in our world, and it will make an even greater difference as we get through this.
We
God bless you.
appreciate you, Meaty. Shout out to Meaty. She's on the front line. Amazing. She's one of those dynamic ones working in the medical field, helping us safe. So, in the words of Meaty, stay home. She doesn't stay home so that we can. If you don't have to be out, stay in the house. Because I love my sis and I want her to stay alive. So, y'all need to stay out the hospital so that they don't get contaminated with our stuff. You know, follow the rules. So, we can get through this together and keep praying. I love you. My mama loves you. And more importantly, God loves you. It's your girl, Lahla-Hadiya, Neo Soul recording artist, again for another segment of Morning Tea with Mommy. We will catch you in the AM tomorrow. I will drop the topic on my Facebook page tonight around 10:30 so that you could be prepared. Hope you can stop through again. I appreciate all of you that came today. Love you. Peace out.
Love you, everybody. Mwah.